Welcome along, ladies and gentlemen, families, kids, everyone out there in the world are watching online streaming, whatever that may be, maybe in the platform of what we are as Kokpit Racing, online racing, but also in how we do interviews, catching up with so many guests, mainly in the motorsport world, whether it's on the dirt, on the track, or our special guest who's going to join us. It's on a bit of all sorts. It's exciting. We had a week off last week, but we are back. The Wednesday show, 7:30. Who joins me from Cockpit is Craig Booker. How you going, my friend?
Good, kids. Good, mate. Yeah, it's pretty exciting tonight, isn't it? We had a break off, and then we get Hayden coming on. It's a pretty exciting time for us, actually. And yeah.
Yeah, so, this is so exciting because he's got so many followers on his social media platforms already. The numbers have shown the people who are indicating they're going to be watching tonight. It's going to be one of our biggest audience. So we've got the guest sitting in the side room there in the green room we call. He's just chillaxing out, no doubt playing with his hair and looking all cool. Yeah, like me, my silver fox here. But mate, let's get into a bit of online racing. Cockpit. We've been doing some testing on recent, the streaming side of things, the new E-Series coming out. It's been a hell of an event we're going to look forward to, but I just want to go back and reiterate on an event we've run for the past, I'm guessing, about nearly 2 months, the Superstock Piers.
Yeah, that was, we ended that on Sunday night, didn't we? Which was, oh my goodness. Talk about some crash and bash, mate. Gee, it was a good series. Unfortunately, our streaming media side of things went down, so unfortunately we couldn't show it to you guys and girls out there, which we apologise for that, but as some of you might have seen on Sunday night, I put up the new system and I even took a hand at commentating the racing to make it a bit more exciting for everybody. So on that note as well, I am actually going to stand down completely from the Saloon Car Series, E-Series, with our friends at Garage 16. And I am going to concentrate on bringing everybody a full stream. I'm going to be commentating on it. We're going to do a build-up before the meetings with interviews with drivers. We've got our real drivers there, and I'm going to do interviews with the winners of races in between as well, just to bring that little bit more to everybody that watches our stream. So this Sunday live is our opening night of our E-Series with our Garage 16 Cockpit Super Saloons. That's a mouthful to say on its own. And I will be bringing a stream of commentary, so I hope that helps you guys. I don't know if I'm very good at it, but I do get a little bit excited, and I will do my best not to use any bad language. So, yeah, that's exciting stuff too, mate. So this Sunday, 8:30, that'll start. Well, we might start about 8:15 with the build-up for the racing night. So
awesome, mate. You can tell, I can hear the voice, your tone of voice, you're excited about it, mate. And I tell you what, don't cut yourself short because you've done a decent job of commentating. You were excited. You brought the excitement level in. Mate, that's going to happen. Yeah, that's going to happen on Sunday. I'm excited too. Just want to thank Mark Eagle running that Superstock peer series as well. Myself and Jeff McConey, Krusty, end up walking away winning that series, but we move on to the exciting. Yeah, doing it sneaky, just chilling out. But we move on to the E series and excited for that. In the real world as well, I do know on the Speedway Dirt, Huntley International Speedway or Speedway track just down the road from where I am in Pidal, had them Waikato Modified champs, Jamie Foxx. Well, you can never underestimate him going through. Yeah. He's won it like 100 bloody times. Also down the line in Cromwell, they had the Daryl Ainsley Memorial Race. Great to see the car out there replicating his old car as well.
Celebrating that as well every year too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's awesome, mates. And
It's media streamed it for everybody, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, awesome. Well done to Jason. Trying the new 4K was a great job there, but also to President of New Zealand Speedway, Ricky Bolton, holding off a fast-charging Mark Osborne in his stealth car. So, Ricky, well done on winning that. And talking of the Osbornes, you can't go past without young Osborne Ashton just ripping it up. I think he just won every bloody race he was in. But just acknowledging some of those tracks around the country who had some events on, but also you're excited for April because I know your home track, mate, Miani's back into it. So we'll see how things roll out.
There's more to come about the crowd, so we don't know what's happening there. So some of these tracks are trying to get the race in them for us, which is pretty good. But we still got to, be careful out there and do what we can, to try and stop the spread, even though we probably can't. But but also on a note, Kins, I just remembered, sorry, mate, but to all our viewers tonight, our friends at Garage 16 Media have decided that with it being Hayden Paddon on tonight, they're going to also put up some prizes for the best questions again. So we've instructed Hayden to pick out a big question for you. And what they're going to give tonight is they're going to give you a $50 petrol voucher, the dust-proof glasses for watching your speedway, and a Garage 16 mug. So that's the package for the best question asked to Hayden tonight. So thanks again for Garage 16, g16sport.co.nz. Check them out. They do a fantastic job, and they've given up another prize, which they continue to do each week. So
exactly. No, they're good fellas there, and Aaron's racing with us as well. Excited about that, and Vince, they do a wonderful job. You'll always see them online as well, having some shenanigans at some speedway track, but they're entertaining fellas. They're great guys to have on board. All right, we'll better get over to our guest who's sitting there in the green room. You got anything else you want to wrap up there, Mr. Booker?
No, I think that's us. I'm just going to push a few buttons here and so we can bring Hayden in.
All right, mate. While you're doing that, I'll just do a big shout out going out to Scott Honeybone. Good to have you on board, mate. You always are viewing. And here Rally fans, time to talk a bit of gravel spreading. Also, Dave Thomas, go Hayden Paddon, Shane Hawkins, who's been racing with us. He does miss us. Dave Thomas, good to hear you watching, mate. No, I wasn't at Bay Park, sorry. I'd love to go there, but one day I'll be back down there, mate. It was an awesome meeting as well. Pete Wilson, who's jumped back on with us, postman or newbie, he's watching as well. Here he is. You can see him sitting there. He's not touching his hair right now, but somewhere during the show, no doubt he will. Hayden Paddon, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks very much.
Hey, thank you for taking time out of your very, very, very busy schedule to join us here at Kokpit Media. I appreciate that.
No, thanks for having me. It's a good chance to get out of the workshop for an hour actually, and just have a bit of a break before getting back into it again.
Yeah, let's talk about that then. You're going into the workshop. We are going to do a show, and you're here with us for that time just to share a bit about your journey, how it all started. But the workshop, how long are you going to be in the workshop for tonight?
Oh, we've actually got a test tomorrow with the AP4 Rally Car, so it's a pre-season test to get the car dialed in. So we're just getting a few of the last-minute things done, as you always are in motorsport, and back down just trying to get a few things finalised before we head out tomorrow morning.
Awesome, mate. Hey, let's talk about motorsport. Let's rewind the clock when you're a youngster. How did that all start? I'm guessing following Dad, eh?
Many moons ago. But yeah, obviously through the family, my father was a reasonably successful driver back in his day, and somewhat flamboyant, and had a few accidents as well. But it was just a lifestyle I got brought up around as a kid, and I think for those reasons, that's why it's never just been a sport or a hobby. It's just been my life ever since I can remember, and I love every minute of it really. Your
first car, mate, a Mini Leyland?
Can't beat the old Minis, which is probably why my sick obsession of Minis continues to this day. So I got a couple of classics in the shed, but I got a little soft spot for the Mini.
Yeah, I've watched your show. I was telling you off here, I was waking up Saturday morning, 6:30, yourself, Andy Ellis, and your lovely other co-host as well, and I saw a show there that you love the Mini, mate. What is it with the Mini?
I think it's always going to have that special connection, being it was your first car. It was my first car I crashed, first car I won something in, and I think even to this day, you can't really go around at any corners any faster than what you can in the Mini. So they're just a really neat little nimble car and something unique as well. You drive around and everyone loves a Mini, from the old Mr. Bean days and whatnot as well. So, they've got a lot of history to them as well.
Oh, totally. Like here in New Zealand, Goodbye Popeye, we grew up watching that yellow Mini getting chased around up and down the country and all the shenanigans they got it to during that movie. Still a good movie. The remake wasn't that long ago, actually. I think about 10 years ago. But Minis, you can't beat the Minis, mate. I tell you what, they can still bloody go today.
Oh, definitely. And as I say, that I like the classic Minis rather than the modern ones, if you like. But I've got a couple of little ones in the garage and get them out as a little Sunday driver. But don't know if I'd probably race them or rally them quite like what they used to.
No, awesome, mate. Was it rally your first sport into motorsport, or did you do anything else like others? Maybe in a bit of karting or anything like that?
You did the whole go-karting thing for several years, and then obviously in New Zealand you can get a motorsport license when you're 12 years old. And I remember at that point, it was at the end of when I was doing a lot of tarmac go-karting, and me and my father had a discussion at that point going, okay, this is the point now where you have to make a decision. Do you want to go circuit racing or do you want to go rallying? And for me, it was a very easy decision. Didn't take long. But he actually gave me 6 months to think about it before we went out and bought my first car, which was, of course, the Mini. But, my mind was always made up. It was always wanted to be rallying and just that thrill of going sideways and the adrenaline and the challenge of what the sport brings is something that you can't get enough of.
Yeah, mate, watching yous on the TV and everywhere else. Now it's live streaming, obviously, and here, there, everywhere. Unreal. You guys are just next to nothing, just what you do out there on all the different surfaces. It's like, holy hell. And you're a young fella back in your day in a Mini. What was it like, that experience, jumping into your first race and getting to do what you wanted to do?
Oh, I think it was a bit hair-raising to begin with.
Yeah.
When you first get on a gravel road and you get to thrash it around a bit, you get used to the loose surface and just, initially the lack of grip and almost being out of control while being in control. But obviously over time, the more time that you spend driving and learning how everything works, nowadays it feels the complete opposite. It's like you're a complete safe haven. You know what's going to happen. You know how to predict it. And, for me now, it's probably more difficult going to other forms of motorsport. So, yeah, it's just what you get used to and what you spend a lot of time learning and adapting to.
Yeah, okay. And that time too, how many tracks around New Zealand? Look, I know you've done a fair bit of racing around New Zealand. We're going to be moving through the New Zealand series, everything you've been involved there. You've just about won nearly everything I could think of, looking at all your profile and everything. Look, you're on the Wikipedia. There's not that many bloody motorsport New Zealanders who have a Wikipedia page.
I've never even seen it, to be honest. So, yeah, look, I just do what I love doing. For me, obviously, I'm pretty competitive. We're always out there to win. But in saying that, I'm not a big person for, statistics or I'm always looking in the future rather than the past. And, I'm sure one day I'll look back on things and maybe, probably take a little bit more time to appreciate what we have done. But in the meantime, when you're in the middle of what you're doing, you're just so focused looking ahead that you forget what's behind you.
Hey, Corbin Bork's been watching at the moment. Good to have you on board there, Corbin. Hayden, what other motorsport would you consider trying?
Basically anything with four wheels and a steering wheel. I draw the line probably at motorbikes, simply because I've ridden a motocross bike once and I crashed it once, so I don't have a great track record there. But no, I love driving. I've done a little bit of circuit racing here at Highlands where we're based, and even though it's different to rallying, I still enjoy it. But, even things like, Dakar is high up on my list, which is a pretty extreme adventure race, those sort of rally raid type things. So, there's a few things I need to tick off my list yet. But, of course, it's, as we all know, motorsport is an expensive sport and you need to try and find ways to make these opportunities and try and open doors. So, at the moment, we're focused on the rallying, but, of course, we always enjoy any opportunities that come our way.
Exactly. And this is the opportunity that we get a chance to speak to people like Hayden Paddon and many others that's joined us on our show. We've been going for about basically 3 months, I'm guessing now, but also we recognize the sponsors who support them to get out there to do what they enjoy. Sponsors mean so much to all sports out there in these times of COVID. How has the COVID affected you, with your racing or anything else? I know it's affected a lot of other sports. Currently at the moment, it's still having an effect. Has it made a major effect on what you do?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Obviously, we run a small business here, which is what keeps our motorsport activities going. And it's like any small business in the country. It is hard. It's a lot of unknowns, which is probably the hardest thing. And you just got to keep pushing forward and keep planning, not knowing what's going to happen next. But we've got through the last 2 years now. We've got a really good team around us here. We've been very lucky that we've got some very, very loyal supporters who have stuck behind us through thick and thin. And of course, the biggest thing for all of us has obviously been events getting postponed or cancelled. And then, of course, we have commitments to partners where we have to do X amount of events a year. And if those events are not happening, then it makes it harder for us to have the money coming in to allow us to compete. And of course, as I say, keep 7 people employed here. So it's been a big challenge, but it looks like we're now starting to see light at the other end of the tunnel, and we're seeing events going ahead now. Like our first 2 rounds of New Zealand Championship, Otago and Whangarei, have both come out saying, even in this current red light setting that we're in, that the events will still go ahead. Obviously, a shame that we can't have the spectators involved as much as what we'd like, but it's a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, the exciting news too, feeling the rush, September 29, October 2nd, Rally New Zealand WRC is back. So there you go, everyone who's looking forward to that. We'll talk more about that coming down. I just got a comment here as well. Did you ever have a go at a sprint car back in the day? Did you ever have a...
Yeah, had a go a couple of years ago, actually, back here in Cromwell. Yeah, I enjoyed it. As I say, I enjoy driving anything with 4 wheels and a steering wheel. Although the sprint car is very different with just the whole way you sit in the car, and the steering wheel was basically directly below you, and you drive like the tractor. And the biggest thing, or the hardest thing for me, is that there wasn't really any testing. The local fella here, Jason Scott, who a lot of you probably know, gave me the opportunity. It was awesome, but it was basically straight into a race. No practice, no time to get used to it or anything. And the biggest thing I struggled with was no mirrors. I love the car, I love the power, I love the way the aero worked. But then once you're on the track with everyone else, not knowing where anyone was, sort of was a real mental thing for me. So, I love driving the thing, but I'd like to have a decent go one day and actually, do a proper test and actually get used to it and then go racing.
Yeah, I think the sprint car drivers here in New Zealand, let alone around the world, kind of put it in the context of the Formula Ones on dirt in some scenario. But yeah, I know what you're saying about the mirrors, mate. You'll be so used to mirrors and let alone someone sitting next to you calling which way to go. But I know it's a challenge, but at least you got that then do it. I've got a question here from Julie Kelly. If you hadn't chosen to go down the rally path to date, did you have another career path you wanted to do, you wanted to follow as a backup, or any other options that you would choose aside from rallying?
I've been asked that question a couple of times in the past, and the simple answer is no. I've never had any other plan or any other things I wanted to do. Even after school, university wasn't really a thing that I wanted to chase, because I was so focused on the rally side. And to be honest, I think that's what's actually helped us get to where we are now and beyond, because, when you've hit a few concrete walls and a few challenges, rather than, maybe take the easy way out, you go, well, there is no backup option. There is no other way. And it probably makes you dig a bit deeper to go, okay, we have to make this work because there's no other option.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, we've got a few more other questions popping up here. A regular viewer, mate, Scott Honeybone. Hayden, are you doing Westland this Saturday?
No, we're not doing Western Rally this year, unfortunately. Actually, haven't done it for many, many years. So, but no, we're just busy getting ready for the New Zealand Championship at the moment. So we're really 3 weeks out until Rally Otago, and a lot of work to do before then.
Awesome, mate. Another regular person who keeps watching. Good to have him on board, Dave Thomas. How did you get into Hyundai Rally Cars?
It started back in 2013, our initial discussions with Hyundai, and this is when we were trying to break into the WRC overseas, and at that same time, Hyundai announced that they were entering the World Rally Championship for the first time, rejoining it for the first time in many years, and we saw it as a real opportunity that all of a sudden associate ourselves with a brand that had a real relevance in this part of the world. Up until then, there was only Citroen and Ford, who didn't really have a big car market or rally car market in New Zealand, and the political commercial side of the sport played a big part in terms of if you were able to try and open the door with the WRC team. So once Hyundai announced that they were joining the WRC, we're like a dog with a bone. We were just straight in there to Hyundai New Zealand, to Hyundai Korea, just pestering people to talk to us basically, and finally got to sit down meetings to, talk about, our vision, my dream, our commitment, how we were there, to try and go all the way to the top. And from there it progressed. And, from that very first discussion we had with Hyundai New Zealand here in New Zealand, we said, we want to create a partnership similar to the likes of what Postman Bourne did with Subaru. He was obviously an idol of many, and that sort of partnership was something that he was very famous for, and something that I looked up to. And, even though internationally we've been dealt a few blows on the Hyundai side, if you like, here in New Zealand, Hyundai New Zealand's always had our back through thick and thin, and we've stayed loyal to that partnership, and that's what's created these opportunities now for these next couple of years, and hopefully beyond that.
Awesome, mate. You mentioned a name that's well known in rally racing, Possum Bourne. Did so much here in New Zealand in the Subaru and everything like that, and everyone loved him, mate. Who were your idols growing up in the rally world,
Obviously Possum was one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was too young to really meet him or know him. But obviously, as a kid, followed him as he was a top Kiwi driver. But I think Possum was an interesting one. He was obviously very successful in Australian and Asia Pacific championships.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of his following come from the type of person he was. Even when he had a bad event or whatnot, he was always smiling. He always had a silver lining to everything. And as a kid, that was something I really looked up to. And from a driving perspective, Colin McRae was my idol. You couldn't beat that sort of flamboyant, give it 110% all the time type driving style. And actually, my father, he was a key thing as well. I looked up to him as a driver. He used to scare me a lot as well when I used to co-drive for him. But he wasn't a bad peddler back in his day either.
Did Dad ever take you to school in the car? What was that journey like on the way to school? Did you used to pull the old Rocky and handbrake on?
Let's just say there's a few stories, not necessarily on the way to school, but he got up to a bit of mischief sometimes. So I'm sworn to secrecy on some of that.
All right, no, that's cool, Liz, mate. No, that's good to know. Yeah, possible. We talk about that, and you mentioned Colin McRae, two legends in their own right, and like I knew the guys like watching back in the day, the Carlos Saints and all those type of guys, and there are many big names back in the day. Good memories. Mark Eagle, mental one, who joins us. Mark's always watching. Here's a question for you, mate. How many times have you gone sunny side up in your rally car?
Oh, it's happened a few times. On average, it's normally one a year, but it's actually part of the sport, though, as we all know. Like if you're not scratching it or putting dents in it, then you're probably not trying hard enough. So there's been a few good ones, but luckily not too often. Otherwise, it gets a bit expensive.
All right. Warren Fraser's joined on. Good to have you on board, Warren. Thanks for joining the show. Hayden, would you ever race speedway like a sprint car again?
Oh, 100%. I definitely want to give it a go one day. I want to give it a proper go, though, not just, as I say, arrive 5 minutes beforehand and get chucked in the deep end. But not only a sprint car, even like a midget or a saloon car, they look quite cool. So just something you can really get your teeth into, and maybe going straight into a sprint car from nothing is a big chunk of the pie to chew. So maybe we should start a little bit smaller and build our way up like anyone else in the sport.
I think you'll come to grips pretty quick, my friend. I do know they've had some of those celebrity races up at Western Springs, and they've had a few of the name drivers race along there in the Super Saloon as an example. So maybe something you may want to look at. But I don't know. Look, we'll put it out there. If anyone's got a car on the oval dirt, they want to get Hayden in there, just put a message up or get a hold of us somewhere or get a hold of Hayden. He'll give it a shot. I'll tell you what, I bet you'd be bloody good at it as well. Garage 16, who is supporting our upcoming E-Series of the Super Saloons, which get underway this coming Sunday. You can watch the live stream. Actually, you can watch the build-up at around 8:15. We caught up with Craig Booker earlier in the show. He will be doing commentary. He's going to put the wheel aside. He is doing a bloody good job of commentating. Actually, he's entertaining, and he's going to do a couple of interviews. Just reiterating, Garage 16 are our major sponsor for this E-Series. We've got the likes of Sam Waddell, former 1NZ Super Saloon driver, current 1NZ Pete Dickinson is going to race with us, and of course our regular driver Mark Fluffy Crocott, who we interviewed a couple of weeks ago. He's going to be racing as well, and we're looking forward to the series. Garage 16 Media. Unfortunately, the Garage 16 Celebrity Challenge, created by Steve Williams Foundation, was postponed due to COVID, and you actually would have driven a super stock, my friend. Would driven a super stock. So are you going to come back next year?
Oh, I think what they had lined up, there was an awesome event, even with all the other drivers. It was a really good group of drivers they had lined up, and would have been a lot of fun. So I think it's still on the cards. I think Steve is still wanting to run it in the upcoming season. So, of course, if we can make it work with the calendar, then we'll be there with bells on.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's cool. So that's good news. And there you go. You heard it here. And let's hope we can get that event happening. And in these different times, we'll see what happens. Scott Honeybone's got another comment, mate. Keep these comments coming in, because thanks to Garage 16, we're giving you the opportunity. Hayden's going to pick out a question or two, and we're going to hook you up with a couple of prizes. So the best question answered, just keep them coming. We've got a good prize thanks to the team at Garage 16. Scott Honeybone, I know these things don't have four wheels, but would you give jet sprinting a go in a competitive superboat? Would you do that?
Never considered it, actually. Yeah, why not? Lots of power, lots of noise. To be honest, I haven't driven a jet boat, but I've obviously ridden in a couple before. But very similar to some of the old classic rally cars in the way that the way you steer them and the way they handle is on the throttle. Unless you're on the throttle, they do nothing. So I think that's the same with the boats. I think the biggest difference is you've got no brakes. So that might be the one difficult part to get used to. But it's anytime you can go fast, then yeah, why not?
Excellent. All good. I think you just got the speed in the blood, mate. You just love the adrenaline, eh?
Speed, but I also like being in control. Like I'm a terrible passenger. Like obviously John, my co-driver, I wouldn't be able to do his job. Even if I was co-driving for myself, there's no way I'd be sitting there.
Let's talk about co-drivers, the importance of co-drivers when it comes to what you do in rallying. A friend of ours that races with us online, Jeff McConey, we know him as Krusty. He's done that before for many years. And you know how important they're an integral part of the 2U in their car.
Oh, huge! It's a massive team sport, and sometimes it's not portrayed that way by what we see in the media or whatnot. But and not only John and the car, obviously the whole team, from the engineers, technicians, everyone. It is a massive team sport. But yeah, that relationship with the co-driver, it is very unique. It is like a marriage. John and I this year, I think we're entering our 17th year or something together.
Wow.
So we know each other pretty well, and that trust factor is second to none. I don't question anything that he's doing with his job, and likewise, he just has complete faith in what I'm doing. So, yeah, it is a unique partnership, and I think I'm very lucky to have, I think, one of the best co-drivers in the world. And he may be getting a little bit older, but he's still as motivated. He's still as sharp. He's still as on it for the game that we play as much as what he's always been. So yeah, it's a pretty cool partnership, that one.
You are right. Everyone gets to see you, the driver. Everyone talks about the driver on many of these sports, and the people who've spoken to over these shows we've been doing on a Wednesday at 7:30. I always want to acknowledge people who do all the hard work behind the scenes, mate, because they're the ones that the people don't really get to see as much, if you get what I'm saying. And it's always the driver mainly at the front of it all and everything like that. But there's just so much that happens behind the scenes.
Oh, it is. As I say, it's everyone. It's even to the people that sweep the floors, to the people that clean the trucks, to everyone has a crucial role. And it's like any team environment, that you're only as strong as your weakest player. So it's about having good people around you and helping you collectively work together towards those common goals. But that's why I'm quite excited about our WRC program that we have coming up, because in the past, normally be John and I would go overseas, would work with the European team. Well, this year we're actually obviously taking our own people, so it's actually an opportunity for Kiwi engineers and technicians and everything for us to all go over there and do it together the Kiwi way. So that's something that's quite unique that I'm excited about.
You Malcolm Reed, he races the Superstock, mate. He's down there in Christchurch. He represented the Glen Eagles at the big event down in Palmerston North, the teams racing Superstock teams. You might have to hit him up, mate, down there if you're down that way, because I know you're down that way. Jump into Superstock and go and do some laps around Woodford Glen.
Oh, he'll probably want me to ride alongside him, because he's co-driven for us in a couple of rallies before. And,
okay.
He's obviously a very handy co-driver, but I'm not returning the favour and sitting with him in the passenger seat. So I'll watch and wave the flag from the sidelines.
Yeah, no, awesome, mate. Hey, Stiffy, I think they call him Stiffy. Stefan's actually joined on, and he said he spent a couple of weeks with the guy, and he reckons you're an amazing dude. You and John have won rallies all over. We're talking Argentina with the win there. What's the next best win after that?
Oh, geez, good question. There's a few overseas that stand out. I'd probably say winning the Production World Rally Championship in 2011 was a highlight, because it was the first time we did our own team overseas, and we had to do all the funding, and a lot of people told us that it wasn't possible. And we went out and won the first 4 rallies in a row, which was, I think, Portugal, Finland, Argentina, and Australia. So, and then that wrapped up the championship for us with 2 or 3 rounds to spare. So, that was a highlight, because it was a real Kiwi effort that got behind that one. But even some of the podiums that we had in the WRC are real standout ones. Argentina was obviously a highlight, but there was some of the podiums in Poland that we had to really fight for. One in particular come off the back of 2 crashes in a row prior to that, and probably as a driver, I've never felt so much pressure before going into a third rally. You obviously couldn't afford to make a mistake for a third rally in a row. But then to back it up and actually get a podium just took all the pressure away. And, I always remember that result, because it was a massive relief. And, there's just so much riding on that result.
Mate, you mentioned a couple of big place names, Poland. Obviously, we all know about Argentina, but you are so fortunate to travel around. What's some of the best countries you've raced a rally, and what's some of the highlights, because whether it's on the dirt or wherever, the snow, I don't know if you've done the snow, but, anything, you must have some amazing stories, and you've hell of a journey, actually.
To be honest, I probably regret that I didn't and maybe haven't enjoyed it enough, because the problem is that you're so focused on the rallies and on the performance as a sports person, that you fly into the country, you do your job for a week, and you're just 100% in the zone, that it's almost to a point that you forget you're in another country sometimes. So probably don't get to quite enjoy the surroundings quite enough. But yeah, for sure, there were some unique countries, like you say, Sweden in the snow. You're talking minus 30 degrees. In the days, and it's just proper cold. A very different cold to what we have in New Zealand, though, I must say. And then you go to some other rallies in South America where the atmosphere is just amazing. Like you're talking hundreds of thousands of spectators. We're going out doing the reconnaissance for the stages on the Tuesday, Wednesday, which is 3 days before the rally. But, the spectators are already up there camping, drinking vodka. It's going into winter, but they're up in the top of the Andes, really making a real party of it. And it's just some of the rallies that we go to, just incredible atmospheres. And makes the sport here in New Zealand look quite small in comparison. Rally New Zealand, I think this year we'll see a huge amount of people out there. It'll be a massive event for the country, but still compared to what we see overseas, where you got sometimes 3, 4, 500,000 spectators, it doesn't even compare.
Wow, holy hell! And you're on show there in front of all of them, and it's just unbelievable. Actually, I'm just trying to picture that in my mind when you're talking 500,000 people, 300. 500,000. It's just crazy. It's just unreal. And the whole atmosphere around it all. You got your team going, working 100 miles an hour, getting them ready. You're getting focused. Man, that pressure must be just unbelievable.
You get used to it after a while. I know when we first went overseas in 2010 and started in some of these European rallies, and to begin with, that was a real eye opener. People were so close to the road, and you couldn't not notice it. It actually took your mind away from the job and took away some of that focus. So it took a while to get used to it, but obviously there in the latter years, by that stage, you're completely accustomed to it, and you didn't even notice people right on the side of the road because you're just so focused on that road, and you just become used to that sort of surrounding. So, very nerve-wracking to begin with, but after a while, it was just part and parcel of what we did over there.
Must be scary though, when you're doing that. You're concentrating on what you got to do, the job at hand. You got your mate next to you doing all the calls, everything you need to know, and all of. Do you actually notice them there, or is it just like a boom? That's it.
Oh, nowadays no, you don't even notice it.
Okay.
So it's you're just in a zone really, and that's what we're trying to do as often as we can. When you're driving at a high levels, you're just trying to get into the zone, and when you're in the zone, everything just subconsciously sort of happens in terms of your responses, your inputs to the car, and it's just all natural. And when you're not fighting things and you relax, then that's when the results come. If all of a sudden you're thinking about the people on the side of the road, or you're struggling with the car, or struggling with yourself, then you won't be competitive. So it's about trying to find that right mindset.
Paint me the picture here. You're arriving into a country. So how does it work? I'm guessing in the mindset of all your rally driving, you'll know what you're driving on the surface. Or how does this all work when you arrive there? You know which corner is going to go, where there's bridges, different turns, all this type of stuff, different material you got to deal with on the roads, or maybe the snow's an example. How does the preparation for that happen before you even get behind the wheel?
Yeah, more often than not, most of the events we go to, I'd say maybe on average, 50% of the route is the same as what we've done either last year or previous to that. And then, so before we go to an event, we'll use a lot of the onboard footage to go through and study the roads and use that to actually put new information into our pace notes. So by the time we get to the rally, we sort of evaluated some of the conditions, but then of course, every year the roads are slightly different, or there are new stages or new sections. So then we're arriving to the rally on the Monday. On the Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll be out in a road car doing a reconnaissance. We're restricted to 80 kilometres an hour. We have 2 passes over each stage. Thursday, we'll then have a shakedown and media day. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're into the rally. And those 3 days, that's the first time that you're attacking the stages at speed. Maybe you did them a year ago, but of course, 12 months between and all the other events and whatnot, it's not exactly fresh like being on a racetrack where every single corner. So that's where obviously the pace notes are absolutely crucial. So they're a long old week in the WRC. New Zealand events are obviously a lot more condensed. You're sort of doing it sort of from Thursday to Sunday, so a couple of days shorter, but still the preparations are much the same.
So did you say 80 Ks in the car doing the reconnaissance, or was it 180 at your speed?
80 top speed in the reconnaissance. So we're very restricted. A lot of the roads are actually still open when we do reconnaissance, so there's traffic still on the road. So that's actually, to be honest, some of the reconnaissance we've done around the world is when we've had the closest calls in rallies, because some of the roads are open and you're coming around trying to drive the line that you need to write the most accurate pace note, but then all of a sudden there's a local coming the other way and you're swerving and you're out of the way, and that's a really tough one to manage sometimes, because obviously you got to drive to the road rules, but also you need to be able to collect the good information to have good pace notes, which then allow you to drive fast in the rally. So that's an interesting one sometimes.
And I'm just thinking while you're saying that in some of the normal people that reside there, live there, drive out there, that's their normal roads. They would head off on their little journey to do what they got to do. And here you are focusing and getting it ready with your team and doing what you got to do for the 3-day racing. And I'm just thinking too, some of those places I've seen you race at, for me, if I went to do that on the middle road by a farm, I'll end up going through the bloody farmer's fence, end up in the paddock. Has that ever happened to you in New Zealand? Ended up in the farmer's paddock?
To be honest, our track record in New Zealand is actually pretty good.
Oh, wow.
not too many incidents in New Zealand because we're so lucky here that the roads are so nicely cambered, really smooth, really flowing. They're actually what we call driver's roads in New Zealand, where you can push 100% and there's enough room for error or enough room for margin. You can get away with little things. So, yeah, luckily not too many visits to farmers' paddocks, but yeah, you get close sometimes.
Right. Yeah, I've done that a few times in my younger days. We'll leave it at that note. And I wasn't the most appreciated guy the next morning by the farmer. But anyway, when I talk about some of those places you go in overseas, look, some of them have some hair-raising cliff edges. It's just like, how the hell do you do what you do? You concentrate and you're holding on for dear life in you, mate. Mate, some of that stuff's just right on the edge material. People would say to me, mate, Hayden Paddon must have big kahunas because I tell you what, when you're ripping around what you do and you see some of those edges, unreal.
Well, to be honest, you don't even notice them as a driver. And if you do notice them, you're only going to go slow. So it's a matter of just staying focused on what you see ahead of you. And as I say, what you look at is where you go. So, of course, if you don't look down the cliffs, then you won't go there. So,
fair enough.
Yeah, just staying focused on the road.
That was my problem. I looked in the bloody paddock. Hey, Scott Honeybow, mate, he says here, I've actually known Hayden that long, 17 years, when you did your first NZRC season in the ex-Brian Stokes Evo 8, now owned by Mike Wellington. Bring back memories?
We've actually got that car sitting here in the workshop, actually.
Oh.
So we've been doing a bit of work on it for one of the customers. But, yeah, that was back in 2006 that we started with that car. And then, we actually scored our first ever rally win with that car in 2007. So it's definitely got a bit of special meaning. That particular rally was probably one that we remember for a pheasant coming through our front window during the rally and completely smashing the window. So we had to work for that one. But, that's where it all started, back with the green Evos. And then, of course, went on to an Evo 9 after that, which we've also got here as a bit of a museum piece. So
awesome.
Yeah, how do we soft
awesome, mate.
Evos?
Awesome. And I know that you got a million there somewhere. Hey, you got a lovely comment here from Sam Ebbert. Not a question, but... Okay, hold on. I'll just move that up for a second. It just disappeared. Hold on, mate. Won't be a sec. Steve Ebbert, not a question, but you're an incredible role model for us. Awesome ambassador for our country. I remember having a tear in my eye when you took the win in Argentina. And I know I wasn't the only one in New Zealand. Can't wait to see you back in the Worlds.
Oh, thank you very much. That's very nice.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. That's a great comment there. And, looking forward to seeing you back on the world stage. Adam Munro, I'm pretty sure Adam lives in Texas. Evening, morning, I'm late again, but thoughts on Rallycross? Seems the T20 of the rally world. So any thoughts on Rallycross?
Yeah, I've given it a go a couple of times over in Europe, actually. And, again, love it. Fast cars, you're talking proper power cars, 600-700 horsepower, and a bit more crashing and bashing and rubbing as racing type thing. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. It is very cutthroat in terms of, you do have to get your elbows out and you actually have to sort of manhandle your way around the tracks a little bit. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. Probably the rally route to me, enjoy when you're probably more on your own in terms of rally raid or rally, because you're in control a little bit more of your own destiny. As soon as you're in this rallycross or circuit racing type environment, there's so many other variables that you've got no control over that can dictate the end result. So, love it, and would like to give it a better go than what we did. But in the meantime, obviously, still focus on the rally short term.
Awesome. Look, you talked a lot about rally here. Stefan's put another question up. Mate, keep these questions coming because we've got a prize thanks to the boys at Garage 16 to give away. Aside from rally, and I'm pretty sure you may have even answered this earlier, what form of motorsport would you really like to give a go?
top of the list is definitely Dakar.
Yeah.
It looks like the most extreme motor race over 2 weeks. You're talking anywhere from 300 to 500 kilometers along for a single stage. We wouldn't even do that in a whole rally here in New Zealand. And a lot of navigation, a lot of strategy, a lot of challenges, and it looks like it's got my name written all over it in terms of the type of challenges and what you have to overcome to be successful in such an event. You've also got to learn how to fix your car and a lot of things on the go. So the challenge of that really appeals to me. Obviously, it's limited opportunities, and nowadays the top Dakar cars, the budgets behind those teams, and is almost as much as WRC. They've just gone to such a high level that it makes it pretty unrealistic for us as a small New Zealand team to be able to build something and be competitive there. So it's just a matter of trying to find ways to get in there. And, luckily a lot of the Dakar drivers are a bit older. There's not really a lot of young Dakar drivers in there. So that means I've got a few more years to try and tick that one off.
Yeah, mate, you're only a young guy. You got a lot ahead of yourself. No doubt we'll be seeing you somewhere along the form doing that, because we've just had a young lady from New Zealand over there doing her bit as well. And, how cool is that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's amazing to see how many Kiwis are doing great things in motorsport all around the world. It's phenomenal for such a small country, for a sport that is so financially driven, to be able to have so many Kiwi drivers punching above their weight in all forms of motorsport is quite unreal, to be honest. And I think that simply comes from the fact that coming from New Zealand, you have to work so much harder to get into these European teams and into the European championships. And because of that work ethic and what it takes to get there, I think that then what helps put Kiwi drivers in maybe a slightly higher regard in terms of creating some of those opportunities. So, it's awesome to see. And there's a lot of other young people coming through and rallying and circuit racing and everything, even right now, that I'm sure we're going to see on the international stage in the coming years.
Yeah, definitely the future's looking good. It's just seen, like you said, a couple of youngsters, especially those who are moving into maybe the Indy type of world or the F3 type of world. There's a lot of that coming on through. And you take a look at the likes of Shane Van Gisbergen, and I don't know, he's just got the gift when it comes behind a wheel. He's going to have a go at rally. And I see overseas, he's just about jumps behind a wheel, whether it's on a sim or even in the real life. He's just good at that. And you take a look at Scotty McLaughlin, what he just done recently in the Indy cars, and everyone's loving him at the moment. Let's talk electric car, mate. One of the guys that races with us in the sim world, Pete Wilson's just joined us. How was the electric car?
It's a work in progress. We're actually pretty excited about the project, which is, we cop a bit of flack for that sometimes. And we don't do it because we love EV necessarily or what it represents. For me, it's about the technology and the opportunities that it brings with it, and it's about the future of the sport. So I love combustion cars. I love noise. I love everything about motorsport, the same as what everyone else does. But more importantly, I love going fast, and I love the future of the sport still existing. And, in any forms of top global motorsport, it's got to be in line with the manufacturer. The manufacturers who are bankrolling most motorsport. And if they disappear, that top end of the sport will disappear. And if that disappears, then all of a sudden the profile exposure for the sport disappears. And that goes through all levels of motorsport, right through the national and regional level. So, there is an element of responsibility where our sport's got to be relevant. And we saw an opportunity with our electric car to make a statement to go, hey, look, rallying's getting a little bit behind times in terms of this electrification. We believe it is possible, and this is how it is possible. So we're still going through the process. I must say, if we had unlimited budget, we could make it work tomorrow in a full-length rally in a real world with fast charging, have the distance, everything. So the technology exists, but for us, we're a very small team, very small budget, so we have to do things in a much more methodical and slower way, if you like. But it's a seriously impressive piece of kit to drive. From inside the car, you still actually have a lot of noise. Everyone always talks about noise as the first thing, but you've got 2 straight cut gearboxes, so you've got a lot of noise. But the biggest thing from a driving perspective is the balance of the car. So you can carry so much corner speed because the weight distribution is so low. I'd say mid-corner speed is even more superior than a World Rally car.
Wow.
So phenomenal car to drive, and we're only scratching the surface still in terms of what we can actually extract from it.
I just want to reiterate what Sam Ebbett said, mate. Everything you've just said there, the future's looking bright, and the direction and the mindset you have, it's looking really good going forward. And I hope things go well, because he said there, you're an awesome ambassador. You truly are, with your vision and where you want to take the things through, mate. It's unreal, actually, and I wish you all the best on your journey going forward on that.
Yeah, thank you. It's a good challenge. To be honest, I love a challenge because
Yeah.
otherwise things get too boring. So you got to keep things fresh. And this EV car for our team is probably the biggest challenge that we've embarked on. And as I say, it is a team effort. 7 guys, young guys. Most of them had never built a car before, and we've come out with this, quite expensive car, I must say, which makes me cry sometimes. But it's already come out and been successful when it's been competing, and a lot of the motorsport world are sort of looking at what we're doing, and we're just a small team of 7 people based in the middle of the South Island.
Mate, you've got some big goals, and that's what I like about you talking to you. You've got goals and good vision, great vision. Jack's Ridge, is that a goal to win that? I understand. I've just heard that you might have had a crash there.
Yeah, well, we probably should have took that one off 2 years ago, but unfortunately, it wasn't quite our day. So, hey, obviously unfortunate the event got postponed this year, but we're going to see Rally New Zealand. Rally New Zealand will play a big part at Jack's Ridge this year, so it'd be cool to see the event there. But of course, yeah, we want to try and make amends that when Jack's Ridge is back on its own event, hopefully sometime in the near future.
How about Pikes Peak? Pikes Peak.
Well, there's probably 2 American hill climbs that stand out. Pikes Peak is certainly one. Being that it's all tarmac now, probably doesn't have the same appeal as what it used to when it used to be all gravel. But actually, there's one, I think it's called Mount Washington, which is another famous hill climb in America, which looks like a really challenging road, really, really narrow, bouncy, fast. And Subaru America, they've sort of dominated that event, and they keep calling out competitors every few years, and I think that event only runs every 3 or 4 years. So that's certainly one we'd love to get over there and give it a go.
Awesome, mate. With everything you're doing in building the media and cars, this is Stiffy asking a question, Stefan here. So with everything you're doing in building the media and cars, where do you find time for a haircut, lol?
What are you trying to say? Luckily, I get to wear a helmet most of the time, so I can hide it.
No, that's all good, mate. It's just a privilege to have you on board here as well. Actually, Stefan's also got here. Give these Garage 16 boys a shout out. What they are doing not only in the real world, but also in sim racing, getting behind everything and throwing it all out there with prizes. The best question, guys. They are good guys. Aaron and Vince, Aaron Lewis actually racing with us with the upcoming E-Series, which we're going to be starting this coming Sunday, 8:30. The build-up will be at 8:15. Craig Booker, who I caught up with earlier in the show, he will be doing the commentary. I tell you what, he's excited. He had his first test last weekend, and he was very, very, very entertaining. So he's getting used to it. He's quite excited about it, and we are too, to be racing in the E-Series. We've got the likes of the current 1NZ, Pete Dickinson. I think he may be our guest next Wednesday, but also we've got a former 1NZ. He's raced go-karts all over the place. Actually, I remember him talking to me about Brazil and so forth, Sam Waddell. And of course, a regular driver who's been racing with us for many years, Mark Crocott, known to many, who works on the track down at the Coke and Tools Woodford Glen Speedway track. Fluffy is going to be racing with us as well. So from Scott Honeybone, Hayden, how do you think these new hybrid rocket ships they are using in this year's WRC, and is there any likelihood of you being in one of those rallies, one of them for Rally New Zealand October?
Yeah, I think the hybrid WRC cars have surprised many people this year. There was a bit of hesitancy, if you like, of people were going to, accept them or appreciate them. But I think now they've come out, I think they're louder. They already look like they're going faster. It's a real shame we don't have more teams in the WRC. We still only got the 3 teams, which is obviously not a lot of driving opportunities for young drivers. But all in all, the new cars look and sound spectacular. Of course, we'd love the opportunity to do Rally New Zealand in one. It would be a dream come true.
Awesome.
And we'll do everything we can to try and make that happen, but it is out of our control. There's just so limited cars, so limited teams. Obviously, we're committed to Hyundai. So if there was going to be one, it'd have to come from Hyundai Motorsport. So, yeah, that's not something that we can really dictate. The one thing we can control is our WRC2 program. We've got a pretty cool program ahead of us with Hyundai New Zealand Rally. We've got a new car that is currently getting built in Europe, which will campaign. And, as a minimum, we'll certainly be there in that car anyway.
Awesome, mate. Hey, we look forward to. I'll keep those dates coming throughout the show as well. The big event happening towards the end of the year. Don't forget to also the best question. Just keep those questions coming up. We've got about another 10 or so minutes with Hayden Paddon, who joins us, our special guest on our show. We didn't do the show last week. We had the Wednesday off, which was actually quite a good day to relax and just enjoy ourselves. But we were a Wednesday night show, Kokpit Media, 7:30, where we catch up with motorsport drivers around the country. And if you would like to be part of our show, just jump in the chat, put in a comment and say, look, come and interview me. We'd love to have a chat with you because it's a show where we get to recognise those who are out there enjoying and having fun, but also recognising the sponsors who mean so much. Adam Munro, I only just found out WRC's back in New Zealand. That's huge. Yeah, mate, that is going to be massive to rock on down here. I saw a question there from Dave Thomas. I'm not too sure if you answered this earlier, Hayden. What's your favourite rally road in New Zealand?
In New Zealand, oh, geez. Too many to choose from.
Okay.
Curry Bush is obviously a favourite one down at Otago Rally. Up north, I love Te Akau North stage, which is obviously part of Rally New Zealand and should be part of Rally New Zealand again this year, hopefully. So they're probably the two that stand out. And probably Cricklewood, which is a stage over in the Hawke's Bay Rally. So, but yeah, we're so lucky to have so many awesome stages in New Zealand. It's always hard to just pick one or two.
I saw Madu Goodley actually mentioned earlier on as well. Can't wait to see you in the Hawke's Bay, mate. They can't wait. Hope you enjoyed the drawing of the Evo.
Yes, yeah, I think they've got that on my wall somewhere in my house actually. So yeah, no, it's a cool rally, Hawke's Bay. It was good to see it back in the New Zealand Championship for the first time in I don't know, maybe 10 years last year. So and of course we'll be back there again this year. So looking forward to that.
Awesome, mate. Let's talk budgets. You know, we mentioned this just a couple of minutes ago. Some of the big names have a massive budget. Always hard to compete against when you just got money, big dollars being thrown at you.
Yeah, well, it is the biggest limiting factor in our sport. Yeah. I'm buying lotto tickets every now and then, and that hasn't worked quite yet. So, but hey, we are very lucky. We've got a really good group of partners behind us, and that's helping us do what we're doing to date. But for us to continue growing, we need to, that needs to grow tenfold. And to be honest, that's why we're building the business model, what we're doing here. And that's where the long-term vision is. It's a bit like a Team New Zealand type structure where our business side here is focusing on technology solutions within motorsport, build the business up, and then the business can support our sporting aspirations. And in the long term, the sporting aspirations is about a New Zealand World Championship winning team. And then, obviously I want to drive for a few more years yet, but beyond that, that will probably involve other drivers, more engineers, more technicians. It's about building a small motorsport empire that's very much Kiwi run. So that's the long-term dream and focus. And that's why we need the business model behind it, because, we are very lucky with partners. But, if times get tough, if there's, global recessions or any of those things that we can't control, the first thing that partners or people pull out of is advertising and sponsorship. And we don't want to be having to be so reliant on that we fall over because of those. So that's where we need the business model to give us that sort of support and structure to keep pushing forward through, the tough times as well.
Well, talking of that, and you recognise your sponsors right above the top of our actual live stream. You'll see all those sponsors. So, as Hayden said, they mean so much to so many out there in sports and any kind of sport. So get out there and do support them because, in these tough times, in this world we live in, we just got to support everyone, and it's like the word we've been saying with a hashtag during the whole pandemic. It's like being kind and looking after each other. Scott Honeybow, what is that Hyundai in the workshop at the team stripping out? So what's the Hyundai that's been stripped out in your workshop?
I can't give away too much. It is a Hyundai Pony, so
okay.
Not the prettiest of cars, but it's one of the first Hyundais that were launched, and we're doing a little special project with that one. So hopefully we'll have that one completed by the end of the year, but we can't give away too much details quite yet.
All right, cool.
Surprise. It might be a Christmas present for everyone, you see.
Oh, there you go. Look, we got to wait. What's Christmas only about? Dare I say it, the way the year's going, it's only 9 months away.
Yeah,
so
coming up too quickly already.
Yeah, it is going real quick. We're nearly end of this month. How you done more too many times, Dave Thomas?
Never done the Motu stage.
Okay.
I remember watching it a lot as a kid, particularly Colin McRae. I think he always did just an unreal stage for the motor. Like, it was always very close in Rally New Zealand, and then he'd come pull 30, 40 seconds out of that one stage alone. So I've seen it a lot on the TV. I think actually my father's driven it once or twice in the rally when he did Rally New Zealand, but I haven't even seen it. I have never driven it slowly. So I probably need to, when I've got a little bit more time, put it on the bucket list to even just go bike it or go through a drive through there and actually see the challenges that once was as part of one of the most iconic stages in New Zealand rallying.
Awesome, mate. Hey, aside from rallying, here's a question for you. What do you do with yourself? You put the whole rally car aside and everything. What does Hayden Paddon do with himself aside from rallying? Like, some tell me they go mountain bike riding, some will go with their wives to the equestrians. I don't know. What do you do?
For me, I live at work. My bedroom is literally on the other side of that wall, and the workshop's downstairs, and this is the office. So for me, it's what I do. I just love every minute of it, and I don't call it work because, as I say, if you enjoy what you're doing, you don't work a day in your life. So obviously, work very hard at what I'm doing, but I love what I'm doing. Very once in a while, I might go have a game of golf. I enjoy hitting the golf ball sometimes, and obviously we do a bit of training with our personal trainers and running and whatnot. But outside that, no, it's got to be something that involves rallying. I'm a bit boring in that respect.
Oh, mate, you live in it. You live in a dream. I just want to say salut to Stephen, who's over in Belgium. So salut to you. Thank you, Stephen, Belgium, for watching the show and commenting earlier on as well. We're a sim community. Online racing is what we do here at Kokpit Racing. We just wrapped up the Superstock Pairs last Sunday. We're going to be launching the E-Series in our Super Saloon, the Garage 16 E-Series. Let's talk sim, Hayden. Have you ever done sim racing before?
Oh, I did a couple during the first lockdown there a year or two ago, so I gave it a bit of a go, but probably wasn't the best of it. It's like any form of motor. It's actually no different to the real world, that to be good, you need to practice. You need to put the time in. And during when I did the sim racing, I didn't practice. I was so busy. It was just get on the computer, turn it on, and go into a race community. And of course, you weren't so competitive. So it's quite unique in the fact that it is realistic that you do need to practice. You do need time in the seat, and then you can become very polished and refined at it. So, but loved it. It's awesome to see how it's bringing so many people together. It's bringing a different community and a different fan base into motorsport, not just rallying, all like you say, speedway. And it's just creating a much cheaper way to do motorsport is another nice benefit as well. But it's an awesome atmosphere, and it's good to see it growing all around the world.
Thank you for your reply there, mate, because Craig Booker, who I spoke with earlier on in the show, I catch up with Craig every start of our shows on a Wednesday. We just go, what happens at Cockpit Online Racing? And just to give you the insight, what's coming up, and recognise and thank those who have supported us. Craig Booker asked you a question. Have you still got your sim?
Yes and no.
Hey, what do you mean?
Well, we built one up, but then one of our partners actually took it away as a promotional tool. But then it got stuck in Auckland during the lockdown. So I haven't seen it for about 8 months. But it is still in existence. It's just in the wrong island at the moment. But I probably need to get back on that again one day and actually give it a crack, and even come try at one of you guys' race meetings.
Mate, yes, the door is just open for you to come and be a special guest driver with us in some of our meetings. I trust you won't roll you over in the Superstar.
I'll need a bit of practice first, I think. So, but no, definitely be keen for that.
Well, we're a community that will help you out. We'll give you a setup and get you out there and going. The drivers who joined us from the real life world, whether it was in the recent Rev XS modified series, they're still racing with us and they're enjoying it, having fun. And it's like you say, it's a fun way to do it. And you can just push a button when you crash, push your escape button. You don't even have to worry about fixing it. You just get back out and carry on. So, cost-wise, in that context, it's a bit cheaper, but obviously the sim gear is a lot more expensive. Your sim gear's been away from you for about 8 months. Do you know what you're running? Can you remember off the top of your head what it is? You got the big flash wheel, you got the big screens, or got any memory?
It's also with this stuff. It was a direct drive wheel.
Okay.
I can't recall the brand.
Oh, you got the flash stuff. Okay.
Yeah, well, the pedals were maybe Fanatec.
Yeah, that's
like
right.
That. And then just some random computer system, and yeah, I don't know. It worked anyway. So the biggest thing for me coming from the real world is because originally I had a little Logitech or something on there, a little cheap, nasty one. But putting a direct drive steering wheel on it was the most realistic thing you could do, because the feedback and the feeling was actually very relevant to what you normally have. So yeah, it's pretty cool how some of that technology is quite realistic nowadays.
Mate, everybody in the sim world wants a direct drive. That's their goals. You know, you're just living that dream on that sim world, even though you haven't jumped in there for 8 months. But that's where everyone's goal is a direct drive. You know, finance can make it happen in any way you race your online racing. Good on you. We also see that Stiffy, who's been asking a lot of questions, actually is the Pits Media do wonderful work. Can't wait to get my wheel again, boys. Enjoy news on Cockpit. Chris Kelly, we're just going to wrap up the show here. Chris Kelly, of all the rally cars you've owned and driven, apart from the minis, mate, what has been your favourite car to drive on a rally stage of any kind?
Oh, there's been a few. Been lucky to drive a lot of good cars. Classic Escort cars were a lot of fun. I'd probably have to say, okay, WRC car is hard to beat because the World Rally Cars is a phenomenal piece of engineering and machinery. You know, they just do everything so easily. But the hill climb car that we drove a couple of weeks ago here in New Zealand, that's pretty mega. Like, that's a pretty well sorted out car now in terms of handling. You've got 700 horsepower under your right foot. And, yeah, you just always wanting more. So, in terms of pure excitement, that's probably the funnest car I've driven. In terms of pure handling, you can't go past the WRC car.
All right. Jason says, Everett, I hope I got that right there. Jazz, how important is keeping up with your fitness?
Oh, it's a massive part. Probably in the last year or two while I've been focusing on the business, it got away with me a little bit. So I've been back into that over the last 6 months. And the biggest thing has been obviously mentally fit, but to be mentally fit, you know, physically fit complements that very well. You know, inside the car, the temperatures are the biggest thing. You're talking on hot rallies up to 60 degrees. Oh, wow. And you have to be mentally just very, very sharp, making quick decisions. And, you know, that's where cardiovascular fitness comes in. A lot of biking, a lot of running. Do a lot of work with my personal trainer on the strength and core side of things. So it's really very broad. It's not like a lot of sports where you're very focused on particular parts of the body or whatnot. In rallying, it's about general good cardiovascular fitness, keeping that heart rate nice and low. But in general, then it's very open to lots of different training methods. So it keeps it fresh and keeps it exciting.
Oh, mate, you're making me excited just listening to that. Want to get out there and go for a run after you finish talking? Nah, not even. But anyway, Dave Thomas, do you do any e-rallies?
Again, a couple of years ago, we did a little bit of stuff with some international competitions and things. So, yeah, different. I must admit, on the Sims, the circuit racing or even the speedway was a lot easier. Rallying is very difficult because what we do in the real world is based on feeling. You know, the car's moving, the grip's changing. And, of course, as soon as you go into a sim and do that with rally, you don't get that feedback through the seat that you're used to. So therefore, your inputs are more with your eyes rather than what you feel. And, you know, unless you're doing it quite often and regularly, I wasn't able to adapt to that very well. But still, again, a lot of fun. You can press the reset button when it goes wrong and you can try again. Awesome,
mate. Scott Honeybone, congrats on having your livery in the last 2 WRC games on PlayStation, mate. How cool is that to get your car into the world through gaming PlayStation?
Like, it's the biggest thing for that is probably around the partners. It's real appreciation for the partners and what they're putting into us to then have their logos and their brand and our liveries more out there to the mainstream for everyone to see and everyone to actually, you know, be part of the team and play it with our car or whatever it may be. So, yeah, it is pretty cool.
Cool, Les. Stiffy's going to see Fluffy Crocot, Mark Crocot. He'll hook you up, mate, and sort you out with some setups if you get in to do some online racing with us here at Cockpits, and that'll be fun, you know, it'll be fun. But other than that, mate, I got to say, I know you got to get to the workshop. It's been a pleasure talking with you for just about an hour. Don't forget to get out there, support all the sponsors who supports this young man, Hayden Paddon, who's going to be out there. And I tell you what, I cannot reiterate what Mr. Ebert said earlier on. You are a role model for many out there, and you're such a young man with a big vision and a great way to deliver yourself. You're very, very professional. You really are going to be an ambassador. And I can tell you right now, listening to you talk on our show for the past 50-odd minutes, mate, the world is your oyster. Just bring it on, I would say. And I want to say, wish you all the best. And a big thank you. Firstly, before we say goodbye, say thank you to you. I want to say thank you this time to Tony McConaughey for setting this Tony McConaughey for setting this up. So, Tony, we appreciate that. And your assistant, you're going to help with us to bring on the guests onto our Cockpit Media. So Tony McConaughey, we appreciate that. But also, Hayden, appreciate your time, mate. Good luck. Big shout out to Hyundai. Wish you all the best going forward and stay on the four wheels, not the sunny side up.
Awesome. Hey, really appreciate it, and thanks for everyone's support. And hopefully we'll come and join you guys soon on the community, the gaming community.
Oh, mate, don't say that you're gonna be there. Some of the boys are already typing up here. I'm gonna roll you over in the stock car.
Probably. I'll probably do it all on my own. So
let's make that happen. Hayden, it's been a pleasure. Wish you all the best, mate. Take care, and thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There we go. That is our Kokpit Media show done and dusted for another Wednesday. We are back next Wednesday. If things time out right with our E-Series getting underway this coming Sunday, build up at 8:15. Craig Booker, who I spoke with earlier on in the show, he's going to commentate. He's actually going to hang up the wheel and do a great job of commentary. He had it tested. He was entertained. He was fun, actually. He got some good feedback coming back from the community who checked out our testing. So look forward to it. 8:15, build up 8:30 racing the E-Series. Thanks to the team at Garage 16. And as you heard there, Hayden Paddon will be joining us sometime in the future once he gets his sim back, and let's get him out there on the track. And I know the boys will want to have a bit of fun with him. We've got a couple of real racers joining us as well in the E-Series. Pete Dixon, current 1 NZ. Also, Sam Waddell, former 1 NZ, and Mark Fluffy Crocott joining us as well. Also, Brad Lane still racing with us, a former 1 NZ modified driver. Thank you for all the questions. A big thank you to Garage 16 for supplying the prizes for tonight's show. We will post up the lucky winner. Hayden's going to send us the winner's details, and that lucky person will be winning the prizes. But I do appreciate you taking your time for your Wednesday to join us on our Kokpit show. We are back every Wednesday, 7:30. Craig Booker and I give you the lowdown on Kokpit Online Racing, but don't forget to watch us live this coming Sunday, 8:15, the interviews. The dirt starts flying. I'm guessing down at Riverside Speedway for the E-Series. Thanks to Garage 16. You take care. Thank you for your time. We'll catch you back next Wednesday. See yous.